This morning, Donald Trump announced that the war in Iran will not end until Iran declares like full and total and complete surrender, or maybe not. He started to get super loosey-goosey about it afterward, but we're gonna show you the initial True Social message he put out, which ends with MIGA, or make Iran great again, or that's what we're supposed to assume it means. The I might stand for a different thing. I think that makes sense based on what he's been doing recently. But anyway, Cenk, does this sound like what he's been campaigning on the past decade?
Oh no, it doesn't. The I is for Ireland, right?
It's probably yeah.
Iceland. Iceland
might be.
Okay, we'll
he
see.
gets that mixed up with Greenland, though. So.
Yeah, he does. All right, guys. So there's a couple of super important things here. So if he's looking for unilateral surrender, what does that actually mean, right? Does it mean ground troops or not? That'll be absolutely pivotal. And then based on that, what I want to explain to you guys is how this thing's gonna pan out for the rest of this conflict, depending on that choice that Trump makes. And it will determine how the rest of the Trump administration plays out. I'm not exaggerating. I think we're at a pivotal turning point here. So John, tell them the facts and then we'll discuss.
I'm very excited to find out now. I want to see that. So I have something to look forward to. Let's jump into the initial message and then how the messaging has changed throughout the course of the day. He put this out: there will be no deal with Iran except unconditional surrender. After that and the selection of a great and acceptable leader, we and many of our wonderful and very brave allies and partners will work tirelessly to bring Iran back from the brink of destruction. I don't know how they ended up on the brink of destruction. Probably it didn't have anything to do with Trump, I'm sure. Making it economically bigger, better, and stronger than ever before. Iran will have a great future. Make Iran great again, MIGA. Thank you for your attention to this matter, blah, 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 blah. So a couple of interesting things there. First of all, unconditional surrender. Then selection of a great and acceptable leader. Remember, he told Axios earlier this week, he is going to choose their leader. Okay, that's what acceptable means. It means he accepts it. So if you have this idea or hope that this ends with the great people of Iran choosing their own leader, democracy, return to Iran, he's telling you that's not going to happen. Just like in Venezuela and probably in Cuba next week, he chooses the leader and it's going to be one of the class of strong men, economically aligned proto-dictators that he's made friends with all over the globe. That's what he's telling you right now. And also, you'll notice that message doesn't say anything about human rights, anything about democracy. It says it's gonna be great again. How? Economic strength. That's what this is about. It's about deals, it's about resource extraction, it's Venezuela all over again. But on that unconditional surrender note, he changed his tune a little bit later today, saying unconditional surrender could be that the Iranians announce it, but it could also be when they can't fight any longer because they don't have anyone or anything to fight with. So but surrender, you declare surrender. It's not just like I look at you and I say, yeah, you've surrendered. You surrendered, come on. That's not what that is. But let's see, Carolyn Levitt often has to pick up the pieces from his gobbledygook. Let's see what she says about this.
What the president means is that when he, as commander-in-chief of the US Armed Forces, determines that Iran no longer poses a threat to the United States of America and the goals of Operation Epic Fury has been fully realized, then Iran will essentially be in a place of unconditional surrender. Whether they say it themselves or not, frankly, they don't have a lot of people to say that for them because the United States and the state of Israel have completely wiped out more than 50 leaders of the former terrorist regime.
Yeah, exactly. Unconditional surrender because we've assassinated all of their top leadership. I mean, they didn't say it quite that way, but that's how our wars operate now. Yeah, so when they're no longer a threat to us, which they weren't, they already weren't, that was a lie. So I feel like we could just wrap this thing up right now. And when the goals are accomplished, well, then we can wrap this up right now because you have not made clear what the goals are. It could be anything you want. Could you please just declare victory right now? You can save us a lot of money. But anyway, we're gonna get to more of what Donald Trump had to say about the conflict and how little he is even pretending to care about the people that will die in this war. But Cenk, I wanted to give you a chance to jump in.
Yeah, so there's actually a bunch of smart Republicans, that I did say that phrase, who are now saying, get out, we won, la da da da. We're gonna cover it a little bit later in the program. Laura Ingraham, Greg Gutfeld, Senator John Kennedy. I think that they're saying that so they could, because they want him to leave. Like enough. We're all going to be politically slaughtered here if you put in ground troops. So now let's back up and figure out how the hell did we got here and what the next step is, because how we got here is critical to what the next step is.
Okay.
So first of all, did Donald Trump change his stance from anti-war to pro-war, America first to, I don't know, would start a giant war in the Middle East and Venezuela and bomb 8 other countries? Indisputably he did. The only people still left disputing it are Israel first, but they like literally everything they say is a lie, so that's irrelevant. But like big portions of his base are still sticking with him and going, no, these aren't wars. Wars are only when you put in ground troops. So like we could bomb the hell out of every nation on earth, but as long as we don't put in ground troops, it doesn't count. So that's their last justification, right? Because otherwise it's super obvious that he flipped 100%, right? Okay, so then why did he flip? So we assumed that he didn't really flip. We've called him a con man all along. He is a con man. He's been a fake populist all along. He's never meant anything he said. That's why I voted against him 3 times, even though I kind of hated his 3 opponents, right? And even then it was clear choice because Trump is a maniac and he doesn't mean a single thing that he says, and he's a con man, right? So unfortunately, I was right about his opponents. I was also right about Trump, I think. So let's find out, right? So how did they get him to switch from his ostensible position? Well, I thought, well, look, he's gotten a tremendous amount of money from Israel, of course. That's why he's been serving them all along. Well, you've heard me say it many times, $337 million from the Adels's, just one family, let alone the rest of the Israeli lobby, that'll do it. Except then Qatar and a bunch of the other Arab countries were like, oh, here's a $2 billion deal, here's a $400 million plane. So we got to neutral on the bribery. So, and I was thinking, and I even said at one point here, look, the great thing, the one silver lining here is that with Trump, he always screws over his creditors. So like he could win the presidency and go, hey Miriam, thanks a lot for all that money, sucker, right? And I would love that. This would be the one instance that I would love that if Trump did it. So I held up some hope that he would do that. But since he didn't do that, then we started to wonder, is there something else, right? Is it maybe blackmail, right? And so like in legitimate news circles, you can't say that. And could it have come from Epstein? You can't say that. I just said it. I don't care what you think. It's super obvious that there's something else influencing Trump. Now though, John, in an interesting turn of events, if you made me bet, I'd still put it on blackmail. Okay, but now a little less so, okay? Why? Because now having read all of the accounts from different insiders about how they chose to go into this attack, it does seem like they kind of hoodwinked him into it.
Don't forget, Noble Mobile saving you a ton of money. So a lot of people are signing up now and beginning to realize, what the hell, why am I paying so much to Verizon and AT&T? So your bill's only $50 a month, but it can actually be less because they give you money back if you don't use your data. So if you're paying more than $50, there's no reason to not switch. It's crazy not to switch because same phone, same number, same contacts, literally nothing changes. TYT.com/switch, TYT.com/switch. All right, we'll be right back.
I mean, it's half a dozen, 6 in the other, right?
You're talking about Netanyahu?
No, yeah, Netanyahu, but more importantly, his own advisors inside the White House. So all of his advisors actually work for Israel, right? So Marco Rubio has gotten $5 million from Larry Ellison, and Larry Ellison told the Israeli ambassador he's pre-approved for Israel. I mean, that's how brazen it is, right? And Hegseth wrote a book about how the IDF should be in American streets. What? Okay, like these guys all work for Israel. It's insane, right? So they surrounded him both internally in America, and then Netanyahu has come over, and this is what they explain in the internal accounts, and gives him speeches. Gave a 3-hour speech the last time he came over near the end of February, and he gives him these speeches about like the centrifuges are spinning faster, Donald, and they're closer to the nukes than ever. Now you say like if you're a normal human being, you go, hey, you've been saying that for the last 30 years. I just knocked out the nuclear facilities. There's the door, idiot, right? But Trump is so dumb that like because one of the things I thought is, well, if they blackmailed him, why bother putting on a dog and pony show? Right? So that's why I made like blackmail went down a little bit based on those accounts as in probability. It's still significant, but so then and then they started describing what they told Donald Trump. They said, now Donald, you don't want to be this is a quote, spectator to history, do you? So he's like, oh no, I want to lead. I want to be the one doing the bombing. Oh, he's such an idiot. So this is what they told him the last time around too, in the 12-day war when they first attacked Iran. They're like, well, we're gonna go in first, and then you'll look like you're weak and just a follower and not a leader.
Yeah.
And Trump's like, no, I want to be the leader. He's so dumb.
So instead he followed.
Yeah, of course, that's the great irony. And then look, I'll speed up because there's a lot of details. But so they said, and then the final part of it was Israel said, look, we're going with or without you. So a lot more Americans are gonna die if you don't come first, and you'll look weak, and you'll look ineffectual, and you'll look like you're just following along and a spectator and all these things. Or now this is the second half. You could be the guy who changed the whole world. Now, this is what's affecting the lunatic story we're gonna cover a little bit later in the show of him potentially attacking Cuba this weekend, not joking, okay? His advisors have convinced him that he is a historic figure, that he could attack all of these countries at the same time and thereby end wars. But you see, like if you're a normal person, you're like, wait, I'm gonna start a giant endless war all across the world in like 3 different theaters, and that's gonna be anti-war. There's the door, please leave, you idiots, right? But he goes, oh yeah, a war to end all wars, and then I'm the hero who's like the greatest historic figure of all time, the bomb away, right? So now, finally, we get to the point where you guys get to decide for yourselves based on what Trump does going forward. So you don't have to trust me, you can see it with your own eyes, right? And then you come back and see if the analysis was correct or not, right? So now we're at the point where they convinced him in the beginning, don't worry, you could do a long distance regime change in Venezuela. I'm sorry, in Iran, like you did in Venezuela. And it's obvious to me now.
Even though Venezuela has the same regime.
Yeah.
It's the vice president,
yeah.
but I get what you're saying.
Yeah, and so it's now clear to me that they convinced him of that. Because he keeps saying to the Iranians, like he did to the Venezuelans, but with the Venezuelans, apparently we had a secret deal all along with the rest of the regime. But here we don't have a secret deal. And in fact, Trump said, hey, when we killed Ayatollah, there was 2 or 3 guys in there that we could have had a deal with, but we killed them too accidentally.
Whoops.
Oops, right? So now we definitely don't have a deal. The guy they picked to replace Khamenei is Khamenei, his son. So they've dug in, and now there's giant like street protests, etc., against us and in favor of the regime. They're furious about the 165 girls killed, let alone over 1,100 killed overall, right? So they've rallied around the flag. Since they're dug in, there is no chance of long distance regime change.
Yeah.
But Trump's still screaming it into the abyss. Oh, a unilateral surrender. Did that do it, huh? Hey, Pete, is the IDF in the streets yet?
Am I tough?
Hey, Marco, did I do well? I yelled at him and I said unilateral surrender. And they're like, meanwhile, the Iranian foreign minister, we showed it to you the other day. He's like, they asked him, what if they send in ground troops, huh? One of our anchors, an American anchor, and he's like, we welcome them. Why? Because it's so much easier to kill you if you come and stand right next to us. And Iran is 4 times the size of Iraq. There's mountainous areas like Afghanistan. They're like, please come. It's so hard to fight you in the air and in the water. But if you make the mistake of coming onto our land, we're gonna guerrilla warfare the living hell out of you. It's gonna be Vietnam times 10. It's gonna be Afghanistan. It's gonna be Iraq. So they're like, please come. Please get on the land.
Yeah.
So now here's the part where you guys will see for yourself. If he has an awakening and goes, oh, what the hell, man? They didn't surrender. I thought the Israelis said they were gonna surrender. Marco, Pete, you said they were gonna surrender, but they didn't surrender. They dug in. And now we're running out of missiles that are interceptors on our ships. Now they're gonna be vulnerable. We gotta get the ships out of there, right? So hey, listen, we knocked out the Ayatollah and 49 other guys. We just decimated their ballistic missiles for the last 4 or 5 weeks, whenever he makes this decision, right? And we definitely destroyed the hell out of their nuclear program. So hey, mission accomplished. And that's why some of those smart Republicans are now saying, hey, remember, Donnie, mission accomplished. Let's get out of here, right? If he makes the decision to get out of here, then things will be bad, but recoverable for the country, kind of, right? But for now back to politics, for his voting base, he'll definitely be able to recover. Because he'll be able to say, no, I didn't do any ground troops. None of those were wars. No, they were just bombings, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Now we won't agree and we'll think that's silly, but his base will largely agree. and he'll be able to salvage himself because he needs that base to ward off everything else, right?
Yeah, I agree.
He hides behind that base. If he puts in the ground troops, everything devolves. The war devolves, our country devolves, his base devolves, and by the end, he will be universally loathed. And you're saying, oh, Jen, come on, no, I know MAGA and they're a cult and they'll never break. And still to this day, a huge portion of MAGA is with Trump. First of all, 63% of Trump's voters, of Trump's voters that don't call themselves MAGA, which is a big number actually, already he's down to 63% approval on the war. And he's lost over a third of them already, okay? So now you say, hey, well, that's a tip. I don't know if there's a tip of an iceberg or just a tip, right? So my thesis is, if he puts in ground troops, that's the tip of an iceberg. And his support is gonna crater, right? So let's see who's right.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I would love nothing more than for the entire world to agree that he is the worst president we've ever had and we all hate his goddamn guts. That would be great. I don't want to lose 10,000, 50,000 US troops to get there and $100, $200, $300 billion. But
yeah, you know what would
apparently it's just up to him. He can just do whatever he wants.
You know what would be even better, John, is if he makes the decision to not put in ground troops.
Yeah, that would be great.
So I would much rather deal with the political, oh, well, Cenk, you were wrong and he didn't put in the ground troops and none of these things were wars. Great.
I agree.
Yeah, I'll take it and I'll be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry I got it wrong, right? But my guess is when Israel wants something, Israel gets it.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.